Late afternoon and evening isolated storms sneaking out of northeastern Colorado. It could have some hail or 60-70 mile-an-hour wind gusts. Otherwise, highs will be in the low 90s, 10 to 15 mile-an-hour south-southeasterly winds, and overnight lows in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, high-pressure ridge amplifies, pushing the storm track north of the area. Gets hot with highs climbing the mid to upper 90s, lows again in the mid-60s. Thursday still hot in the mid-90s with an evening and overnight cool front that will bring a round of scattered showers and storms and drop lows into the lower 60s. Friday and Saturday, a trough moves through. High pressure settles in behind it with a stationary front. Rain chances with below normal cooler highs in the 80s, lows in the upper 50s and low 60s. And then Sunday and Monday, it dries out, heats back up into the 90s, followed by the next round of storms and a cool front coming over the Rockies Tuesday afternoon and evening. This is meteorologist Chris Schromick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Know someone who struggles to read because of blindness, low vision, or other challenges? The State Library of Kansas can help with free programs such as NFB Newsline and Talking Books. Eligible users can access hundreds of newspapers and magazines with NFB Newsline by phone, mobile app, or smart speaker. Talking Books offers thousands of books and materials too. Stay informed and connected. Learn more at library.ks.gov/newsline. Brought to you by the National Federation of the Blind and State Library of Kansas.
It's the 50th annual Grinnell After Harvest Festival, July 18th through the 20th. Lots of extra activities this year, including the band Sunset Sinners. Yes, Northwest Kansas Radio and the After Harvest Committee present the awesome party band Sunset Sinners. Back this year, Friday night, July 18th. It's free at the Grinnell City Park. So after dinner, it's the Sinners.
Have fun. Green means go, yellow means faster.
Summer deals are heating up at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get up to $7,000 off a brand new 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Pro. Or choose 0% APR for 36 months plus no payments for 90 days on select 25 Sierra 1500s. Need more muscle? Drive off in a 25 Sierra 3500 with 3.9% APR for 48 months, or grab $2,750 select market purchase allowance. GMC Professional Grade. These offers won't last. Swing by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today, online at hurlchev.com.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's nominating President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. He says he made that announcement last night at a White House dinner with President Trump, where they were getting together to celebrate their accomplishments in ending Iran's nuclear program, at least for the time being, with their 12 days of bombing, some from Israel, some from the United States. Meanwhile, Netanyahu told the president that he deserves that award because of what it will mean for the region. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton says, make no mistake about it, the attacks did obliterate Iran's nuclear capacity, despite what some critics are saying. The next goal for both Israel and the U.S. will be ending the war in Gaza, something that should clear the way for Israel to forge peace with Sunni nations. On Wall Street, Dow futures pointing down for the Dow, off 37 points. S&P 500 futures up by 7. This is SRN News.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
Medishare.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Medishare and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in with your need, that is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
But I keep telling people love Medishare, and they love saving tons of money, too. The typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for Medishare. It is so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to, and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE, 844-45-BIBLE.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
The amount of money getting thrown around to quarterbacks who haven't done diddly squat is amazing to me.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
Knows what he's talking about.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Covering it all from the preps.
Fastball swinging a miss and a strikeout there for Kaysen Cedarstrom.
To the pros.
Mahomes keeps it on an RPO at the 5. Gets a lead block. He goes into the end zone near side. Touchdown, Kansas City.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with the insurance agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
There he goes. The pitch is ripped into right center field. It's a base hit. It'll score Estrada. Tolia will get to third base. Solid single for Ryan McMahon. Knocks in another run. It's the second run in the inning.
Teammates with RBIs all season long. And Salvi launches it deep to left field. The heat will help, and that is gone. Way gone. And the Royals have 3 home runs tonight.
It's a pass to the corner. Harkless rises up. Good look from 3. Bailey and a crowd takes it off. Oh, what a bucket by the rookie. Left side off the glove of Perdomo. Hit number 2,000 of his career for Manny Machado as he continues to build on his resume towards the Hall.
And we're off and rolling on a Tuesday morning. It's July the 8th. Glad you're with us. Sunny and 65 to get this Tuesday rolling here on the Morning Blitz. Broadcasting Goodland's Rocket 102.5, NWKSradio.net, or the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Thank you so much, no matter which way you are listening or tuning in today. So glad that you could be a part of the program with us here. Like I said, 65 and sunny to get the day going. 92 the high today. Temperature is going to be in the mid to upper 90s, looks like tomorrow and Thursday. So some much warmer temperatures and still a slight chances of some possible storms throughout the listening region here, a little bit off and on throughout this week. We did have a little bit of some storms over in northeast and eastern Colorado last night, but by the time they got to kind of the Kansas area, they kind of gone down below severe weather. And I know there was some rain and stuff up there north around St. Francis, it looked like. But so glad you're able to tune in with us here today on the Morning Blitz. Lots to get to on today's program, especially if you love Big 12 football, because we've made it, folks. We have made it to talking season. Big 12 football media days are underway, ready to get underway today from the Star in Frisco, Texas. Our good friend from KUSports.com and the Lawrence Journal World, Henry Greenstein, is going to stop by the program in segment 2 to discuss the news surrounding KU football heading into that and some other topics surrounding Big 12 football media days. Once again, that is in our second segment here in about 20 minutes plus or minus. Dick Vitale has given out his top transfer portal players, and there is one of those guys that is going to be playing in this state for one of the home state squads. We'll get to that in segment number 3. My thoughts on an interesting recruiting perspective in the walk-off. We'll come up with that in just a little bit. But like I said, today's first segment is going to be dominated mostly by Big 12 football media days and everything that goes on pertaining to that, to be completely honest with you. So today, Big 12 football media days get underway once again in Dallas, or I should say Frisco, Texas. Today's teams that will be there going through the car wash of interviews and fielding questions and getting ready for the 2025 college football season will be Arizona State, also Baylor, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State, and Texas Tech are going to be the teams today. Very much, I would say today is the best day when it comes to the top dogs in the conference. Kind of tying in that storyline, I know we've talked a lot here the last week or so about the Big 12 going away from the poll, the preseason Big 12 poll. But once again, I've visited with a lot of people about this, and people have had their opinions on it, liking it or disliking it. And once again, I said, I get why they do not want to do this. I understand why the Big 12 doesn't. And, but there's people out there who don't like the poll, and who don't like the idea of not having a poll and think it doesn't have that much impact. I'm just saying, I think I get where the Big 12 is coming from by not having a preseason poll released, saying where they think teams are going to be, particularly in a conference where it feels like right now everybody's got a great chance almost every single season. The league is so close. I mean, there's only 2 wins. I think that 2 wins/2 losses that separate, the top from the bottom in most of the Big 12 conference. So I get why, if they're trying to find ways to make themselves more appealing to the College Football Playoff Committee, by kind of keeping themselves in the dark a little bit, by not letting people out there know what they think, maybe they help themselves out a little bit. I totally get it. Yet, at the same time, our friends at 24/7 Sports have decided that they are going to go do their own Big 12 football media poll. And so they went through, and all the writers from 24/7 Sports sites that cover every team in the Big 12 got together. They made themselves, they handed out a sheet, they voted, and they handed out points. And the final results came out like this. This is what it looked like for the preseason poll for the Big 12. As once again, Media Days kicks off really much the 2025 season here today for the Big 12 Conference. K-State is tied for the most first-place votes with Arizona State. But the Sun Devils edge the Wildcats for the top spot by just 2 total points. I believe, once again, Arizona State finished with 233 points. Kansas State finished with 231 points, but both teams received 5 votes for first place at this point in time. Kansas State and Arizona State. We'll go through this list here just real quickly and kind of get you set where everybody thinks they're going to finish this year. But K-State and Arizona State tied at the top, with Arizona State just maybe a slight edge. But after that, Texas Tech and Baylor tied for 3rd, followed closely by Iowa State, Utah, and TCU. And then Kansas coming in the poll at number 8. And so that's where you find KU kind of right in the middle of the pack at number 8. And that probably is due to just a lot of question marks, to be completely honest with you. More on that later on in the show. But BYU and Colorado, they round out the top 10. So Colorado coming in at number 10 in this poll from 24/7 Sports, trying to predict the Big 12 order to finish the preseason poll. And then you've got Houston, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, near the bottom, West Virginia, UCF, Arizona fill the last 3 spots in the Big 12. That's where that poll sits. So once again, you've got Arizona State, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Baylor, Iowa State, Utah, TCU, Kansas at 8, BYU 9, Colorado 10, Houston, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State 11 through 13, and then 14, 15, and 16, West Virginia, UCF, and Arizona are the spots that 24/7's preseason media poll that they put together showcase where people think the Big 12 might be headed this year. First and foremost, I totally get why Arizona State and Kansas State are near the top. Arizona State returns the preseason Big 12 quarterback of the year, that's another side point that's interesting. The Big 12 did do its preseason all Big 12 teams and awards. So it didn't do a poll, but it decided that, yes, we are going to do teams and awards, which is perfectly fine. So, which is perfectly fine, but it's interesting. We're not going to do a team rankings, but we're going to talk about the best players, which once again, I get it. I get it. They want to promote their great players, but at the same time, they don't want anybody to get any preconceived notions that, hey, this team is good, this team's bad. We're just going to see how it all plays out. But offensive player of the year, first team quarterback, Sam Levitt of Arizona State. Defensive player of the year, Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker of Texas Tech. And the newcomer of the year is Devon Dampier, the quarterback out of Utah, is the newcomer of the year. The interesting thing about this, Kansas has one guy on this offense and defensive squad, Bryce Foster, the center, the redshirt junior. He is an offensive lineman in the first team. And then Kansas State has two guys named. One would be the fullback / H-back Will Swanson, the senior from Papillion, Nebraska, and then Austin Romaine, the junior from Hillsboro, Missouri. The linebacker there is on the defensive side. So KU and K-State combined for three guys at this point in time. When you look at the rest of it, Arizona State has 5 guys in this mix. Colorado, in case you were curious, has 2 guys. DJ McKinney, defensive back out of Coffeyville, Texas, is on there. And also for Colorado, you've got Jordan Seaton, the sophomore offensive lineman. He made the crack as well. But that's just 2 players for Colorado. But it's amazing. This is amazing to me. When you look at the preseason team and then you look at the poll, I get why Arizona is number 1. They've got 5 guys in the first team. But Kansas State sits there at number 2. And they have 2 guys listed on that. Once again, Will Swanson and also his teammate Austin Romaine. 2 guys on the team, yet they're the second best team according to the 24/7 Sports poll, which to me says they have a lot of really good players, maybe not a ton of just great players, and also could be a lot of guys that are just not quite proven yet. Can Avery Johnson take that step this year? Can Dylan Edwards take that step this year? Can their retooled wide receiving core take that next step this year? I don't know. We're going to find out, and that's probably the question, but they have to feel pretty good. Media poll feels pretty good about what Kansas State has as a whole, even though they may not have a whole lot of superstars on that team. They feel pretty good about the consistency of the team. That's what one would say about that. You can think about it. Colorado has just as many first-team players as Kansas State does, but they sit down there at number 10. So, I don't know. Very interesting to see all this information kind of come out and what is out, what is not, what people are thinking. I think it to be very fascinating. But like I said, today, the teams that are going out there are really the teams I think that probably have the best chance of winning this conference are all going on today. Arizona State, Baylor, who's kind of a sneaky team led by Sawyer Robertson, their quarterback. They're a team that Dave Aranda has kind of weathered the storm. I think is a good way I heard it once put. Weathered the storm where he had some slim years, but last year had a good bounce back season. And now we'll see what they can do here this year down there in Waco. BYU, I think I'm never ever going to count out BYU in a wide open Big 12 conference just because of the age of their players. And these are all grown men in their mid 20s, some mid, or I should say early to mid, even some maybe even their late 20s with the missions and stuff that they go on. Yes, I know the quarterback situation is completely up in the air, and that is a humongous question mark, and I totally understand that, but I just wouldn't put anything past BYU. You have Iowa State today, led by Rocco Becht, who's also considered, a great quarterback. Then you have Avery Johnson, who's, Avery Johnson and Kansas State. They're going to be in the mix, I think, this year. And then Texas Tech, I think that's a team that you're going to have to pay attention to for years to come in the Big 12. I think it's simple as that. You're going to have to pay attention to Texas Tech in the years to come because they've got the financial backing to do it. Over the 4th of July weekend, they announced that they were able to get the commitment of this Oho offensive lineman, a 5-star offensive lineman, by paying him, $5.1 million over a 3-year span, or I don't know what it was, but $5.1 million. They announced that they're going to get to this Oho guy, an offensive lineman. And so Texas Tech, I think, could become kind of the next Texas or the next Oklahoma, honestly, in the Big 12 conference. They could become that because they're going to have an abundance amount of resources, money, which will lead to probably better players, better coaching, and that doesn't always result in wins, as we saw with Texas and Oklahoma, particularly Texas in the Big 12. But I think they're going to be a team that's going to get a lot of love because of the resources that they have. And so once again, I think, like I said, you've got Kansas State, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Baylor, Arizona State, BYU. I mean, I think those are all teams that have a great chance of winning the conference. And then tomorrow you kind of get the back end teams, whether it's Arizona, Houston, Colorado, Okie State. Who knows about Oklahoma State? My guess is Oklahoma State's going to be set for a big bounce back year. If I had to take a pick, I would say Okie State's going to have the biggest bounce back year. I just cannot see them having a second down year underneath Gundy. I could just see it being a bounce back season for them. I think where they're picked, I understand why. It's based upon last year, and there's a lot of unanswered questions down there in Stillwater. But man, the coaching that they have at that school, I would just be surprised if it happens again. So I could totally see a bounce back. TCU, I think, is one of those teams that's in the mix this year. Utah's got great coaching. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce back season from them. But yeah, we'll see. Like I said, the Big 12, as it was last year, wide open, and I think it's going to be that way this year. And another point that's interesting about the Big 12 here this year, as we get set for Media Days to kick off today down in Frisco, Texas, another big point to keep in mind is quarterback play. And, the quarterback is the most important position of all of sports. And you look at what the Big 12 has to offer when it comes to quarterbacks, it's pretty good. I mean, Sam Leavitt, Sawyer Robertson, Brendan Sorsby out of Cincinnati's been a pretty good quarterback. Rocco Becht has been really good. Avery Johnson's been really good. Noah Fafita has been a great quarterback. Jalen Daniels, we know, has been a first-team All-Big 12 quarterback. Let's see here. Josh Hoover was solid last year for TCU. Devin Dampier is considered the newcomer of the year in the Big 12. He's the quarterback, going to be starting quarterback for Utah, they say. And then Colorado, interestingly enough, more on this in a second. They've got two guys. We just don't know who. Either it's Juju Lewis or Caden Slater. My guess is going to be Slater if I had to take a stab, but I don't know for sure. But it's a great quarterback. It's a great quarterback league. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks. And if you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And I think that's why, once again, the Big 12 is wide open, because there's a lot of teams that have a quarterback and feel good about it. And we'll see where the chips fall. We will see where the chips fall. Interesting side note on Colorado. The Buffaloes this year are bringing 2 quarterbacks to Big 12 football media days. I find that fascinating, because the old adage is if you have 2, you don't have 1. And I think Colorado is going to be in that spot this year. I think we're going to see, as we heard from Mark Johnson a couple weeks ago, voice of the Buffaloes here on this program, he thinks we're going to see both quarterbacks play a lot this year. And that's fine. But the old adage is if you have 2, you don't have 1. And we'll see. They need someone to take over that room and that team and that offense. I don't know if they're going to get that this year. I don't know if Coach Prime is going to allow that to happen. Julian Lewis and Caden Slater are both very talented, kind of different. Lewis more of just a pure passer, and Slater is got a little bit more gifted running ability. But yeah, I don't know what to think on that. When you bring both guys to media days, you're kind of splitting your team up once again, saying, well, who do we want to back? We're going to send 2 guys to media days, and we'll find out here later on. I don't know. It's very interesting. I can't remember in all my time of following along media days and covering media days, a team taking 2 quarterbacks, I guess. I mean, it's not like it's totally unheard of, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head where you bring 2 quarterbacks to media days. Like I said, if you have 2, that means you don't have 1. And you've at some point in time, you kind of have to pick your guy and go with it and stick with it. Unless that guy gets injured, then you go with number 2. I'll be intrigued to see what that looks like and what the thoughts are of that here as the media days roll on in the Big 12. But yeah, like I said, today, Big 12 football media days get underway there from the Star in Frisco, Texas. Once again, Kansas State and Arizona State kind of picked to finish at the top. KU coming in at 8th and Colorado sitting there at 10th. But once again, I feel like last year, the Big 12 is wide open. There is not a power team at this point in time in the league. And I think it hurts the league overall when you look at the college football playoff. I think it just does. I think it hurts the league as a whole. If you don't have a villain or something to chase, it just makes everybody think, well, they're all the same, and they just kind of are all in this, washing machine, and we'll see who gets spit out first, I guess is the best way to put it. And we'll find out as this season progresses on. Now, once again, just because now from the viewer's perspective, it's great. It's awesome. You have a chance every year your team goes in, you're like, we have a chance to win it this year. I mean, KU has a chance. K-State there certainly has a chance. Since everyone's got a chance if you can put it together. And in the Big 12, it just seems more likely than in like the SEC, where you got to try to beat down Bama and Georgia, or in the Big 10 where you got to beat down Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. It's more wide open in the Big 12, which is great from the viewer's perspective. But as a conference as whole, it's probably not the best when it comes to trying to get the most amount of teams possible into the college football playoff. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this season pans out. I think we're going to see a season a lot like last year. A lot of kind of carnage and a lot of really good teams, but all with about the same record. And we'll see how that stacks up in the CFP here in 2025. But we made it to talking season. College football media days are here today. Once again, Arizona State will speak. Arizona State. Kansas State Arizona State will speak today, but so will Kansas State. Avery Johnson, Taylor Portier, Cody Stufflebean, love that name, Des Purnell, and VJ Payne are speaking on behalf of Kansas State today down there at the Star. Kansas will speak tomorrow. Speaking of Kansas, that's where our good friend Henry Greenstein is heading. He is down in the Star today, actually, taking in Big 12 football meetings. When we come back, we'll visit with him, get his thoughts on the Kansas perspective heading into Big 12 football media days and much more. That's next here on the Morning Blitz on this Tuesday.
When you work hard, make sure you have a service that works hard for you. With reliable coverage and the latest devices, you can go farther with Nextech Wireless. Right now, get an iPhone 16 Pro and an Apple Watch 10 on us. That's right, on us. Nextech Wireless, connecting Kansans.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Tuesday, July 8th. On the overnight last night, September corn lowered 2.5 at 4.01. December down 3 cents at 4.17 3/4. March down 3 at 4.34 1/4. May corn down 3 1/4 at 4.45. August soybeans down 6.5 at 10.25. September down 4 1/4 at 10.09 1/4. November down 3 1/4 at 10.17 1/2. January beans down 3 3/4 at 10.33. Chicago wheat, the September contract over 4 cents at 5.44 1/2. December down 4 1/4 at 5.66. March down 4 at 5.84 1/2. May down 3 cents at 5.96 3/4. Kansas City wheat, the September contract lower 5.5 at 5.22. December down 5.25 at 5.46 3/4. March down 5 3/4 at 5.68 1/4. May hard wheat down 6 cents at 5.81 1/2. On the stock market, the Dow down $53 this morning at 44,624. The S&P up 4 at 6,280. The Nasdaq up 49 at 22,931. Gold lower $5 now to 3,337. Crude oil up 3 cents a barrel at $67.96. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call. John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Pluto, Jared Wall, or Tyler Josh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
This season, armyworm better watch out. Because your wheat is protected by Lumavia CPL insecticide seed treatment, with the unique mode of action that starts at the seed, then moves through the plant to protect it, from roots to shoots, for strong stand establishment and better yield potential. Army worms, you're out of here. Learn more at corteva.us/Lumavia CPL.
Imagine having more days of perfect weather, a combine that's more powerful, or even more soybean bushels per acre at harvest. With Revitec fungicide, you don't have to imagine that last one, because it's proven to deliver up to 9.5 more soybean bushels per acre than the competition. With results like that, it's easy to see why Revitec fungicide is the #1 recommended fungicide by soybean farmers. Visit Revitec.com and talk to your BASF retailer today. Always read and follow label directions.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
with Ross Volkmer.
Three minutes past the bottom of the hour here on this Tuesday, July the 8th. Thanks again for tuning in here on the Morning Blitz. Plenty of things still going on this summer, particularly with events to do. Coming up here on the 18th, that'd be a week from this Friday, is the Sunset Sinners at the Grinnell After Harvest Festival there in Grinnell. If you'd like to go enjoy some barbecue at the park and fantastic music of the Sunset Sinners, it's free admission to go check that out for the Grinnell After Harvest Festival and see the Sunset Sinners there. That's a week from this Friday on July the 18th. And, of course, make sure that you take part in Rock the Block, NWKS Radio Summer Giveaway Game, going on now through the end of August. Go to nwksradio.net or text the word ROCK to our text line, and that way you can be entered in. Find a way to play the game and get entered to win some great prizes with the Rock the Block going on right now this summer. Henry Greenstein, our good friend from KUSports.com and KUSports.com and the Lawrence Journal World. I wanted to have him on live today, but he is busy, of course, down at the Big 12 Media Days getting set up to listen to Brett Yormark and catch the comments of the commissioner and all that stuff. So he was kind enough to join me yesterday and give me his thoughts on KU football heading into Big 12 football media days and so much more. Once again, Henry Greenstein of KUSports.com.
We are pleased to be joined on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline, our good friend from the Lawrence Journal World and KUSports.com. That's Henry Greenstein. Henry, how was the 4th? How did you celebrate? Did you have a good time? Did you shoot off any fingers? Hopefully not.
Thankfully not. My 4th of July was delightful. I got to see some childhood friends and family friends back home in LA, and it was a very pleasant change of pace from some in years past. And I also have this take that Friday is the optimal day for it to be the 4th of July. So this was a very serendipitous year in that respect. But yeah, I mean, 4th of July over, and all of a sudden things are starting to ramp up toward football season. So that's very exciting.
So we'll get to that in just a second. You know, you said there you're kind of from the LA area and now you live in Lawrence. Talk about a change of pace in lifestyle, I would say.
Oh, certainly. But I did have some intermediate things between that. You know, I mean, I went to college in St. Louis, so I got a taste of the Midwest at 18, and grad school in Phoenix, Arizona. My first job out of grad school in Bakersfield, California, which is a city of a few 100,000, about an hour and a half north of where I grew up in LA. So I've already in just a few years in this business really seen a wide spectrum of American life. But yeah, I really love it in orange.
Yeah, you definitely have seen a lot of different things. Henry Greenstein, our guest here from KUSports.com, the Lawrence Journal World. We're having Henry on to discuss, of course, Big 12 football media days as those get going here Tuesday and roll on into Wednesday. Henry, I know, what are you really looking forward to learning just overall at this year's upcoming Big 12 football media days?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it'll be interesting to, first of all, get a sense of public opinion of the team as a whole, because with the abolition of the preseason poll this year, it's kind of harder to see how people feel about certain teams. And, if you look at the odds for the Big 12, like the entire conference is basically within two wins of each other on the over-under win total. So anything can happen this season. It could be teams that really haven't been up toward the top, or it could be teams that were down toward the bottom last year but will be resurgent, or it could be someone that completely comes out of nowhere, like last year with Arizona State, and now, of course, ASU, it feels like, is the favorite this season. So that's one thing. KU specifically, it feels like this has been the case every year that I've been on the beat, but I just want to talk to Jalen Daniels. He didn't speak to media during the spring and obviously missed a lot of the spring recovering from an off-season knee procedure. So the storyline once again with JD is going to kind of be like, how has he been getting back into the swing of things? And that's especially important this year because it's his last year and because they have an entirely new group of receivers and tight ends. 4 transfer receivers, 2 transfer tight ends. Granted, one of the tight ends was here last year but missed the whole season with an Achilles. But there's going to be a lot of focus on Jalen Daniels, and that's kind of how it's been for most of his time at KU. But lots of questions to ask about, starting with why he chose to come back, his thoughts on Jim Zebrowski's elevation to offensive coordinator, his adaptation to Zebrowski's new system, the knee, when did he sustain that injury, how did he decide on the timing of it, what was the spring like. I think that the other players KU is bringing to media days are certainly important, and I wrote a whole article about questions to ask that trio of linemen with center Bryce Foster, defensive tackle DJ Withers, and defensive end Dean Miller. But as is often the case, the quarterback will be in the spotlight, and with Jalen Daniels, that's nothing new.
Once again, our guest is Henry Greenstein here on the Morning Blitz, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Staying on Daniels, he did not get any first, second, third, or fourth team I saw on Athlon, which is amazing considering he was, at one point in time picked to be the preseason Big 12 quarterback of the year a few years ago. It's amazing the fall that we've seen from him, but yet I think everybody knows that there's a ton of potential there for him to have another great season anytime he's able to stay on the field.
Yeah, I don't think there are some good quarterbacks in the Big 12 this season, but it won't be difficult for Daniels at all to be a top 4 quarterback in the Big 12 if he can just play like he did the first half of 2022, the 3 games he was able to play in 2023, or the second half of 2024. The talent is all there. The mobility, the ability to throw on the run. I think there is some concern about the rapport with the new group of pass catchers I mentioned, but there are no issues with talent with Jalen Daniels. It's just about health and consistency. And I think that he's in the right headspace for sure. And I think that he's certainly doing better, I would say, this summer than he was last year during the summer when he really hadn't done anything at all during the spring. But yeah, that, not being in any of the top 4 teams, I can easily see a way where he's one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the Big 12 this season.
You mentioned a few minutes ago talking about the Big 12 and not doing a preseason poll, which I have my own personal opinion on. What do you think was the biggest reason for them going away from the poll?
I mean, it is speculative, but I think that the Big 12 doesn't want that poll to have influence on how its teams are in turn ranked in the AP poll, which then can influence the way those teams are perceived over the course of the season, which can then make it harder for them to get favorable seedings in the college football playoffs. So I think it's really that straightforward. I think that that's maybe overstating the role that we media have played in shaping the narrative these past few years. I don't see it as some grave failure of the voters. Now, maybe I'm a little biased as one of the people who took part in this, but I don't see it as a grave failure of the voters that Utah turned out to be bad last year. Like, the voters' job is just essentially to gauge public perception and intel about the teams, and synthesize it into some sort of prediction. Like, if that prediction ends up defying the what actually happens, the focus should be on, wow, Arizona State did such a great job defying expectations, or Oklahoma State was so much worse than vision, not the voters prevented Arizona State from getting even higher than they could have in the season where they were unexpectedly good. So, that's the Arizona State thing, and them being last, which, by the way, I didn't put them last year. I had them at 13th. Okay. The Arizona State being last year, I think is kind of the most commonly cited reason for it. But I don't think that alone justified the abolition of the poll, especially because now there's just going to be a cottage industry of various other like third-party polls. I don't really see the point of causing that to flourish instead of just doing one of your own.
Well, I do find that topic to be extremely intriguing, because I would agree with you on your statement on why they did it. Because unfortunately, the Big 12, I think, is battling an uphill battle every single year, because they're looking up at the SEC and the Big 10, who automatically get all this love from the whoever wants to give it to us. More importantly, the playoff committee, and that makes it harder for the Big 12 to be in that. It seems like every year in that conversation. So I totally get the sides of both sides of it all, but I totally agree with you what you mean by that.
Yeah, and to me, like I was saying, people, if the idea is that you don't want to be affected by anchor bias, like you don't want to have a team that ends up being a Big 12 contender start out unranked because people were reading the Big 12 preseason polls when they cast their AP ballots or whatever. People are still going to look for teams that they're still going to have to make decisions about which teams to put there. And those are going to be relying on the same things that the Big 12 preseason poll voters were relying on. So I don't totally see the logic in getting rid of it. But it's not a huge deal ultimately. I do think that it's just odd, and it's usually a good thing to have to look back on the end of the year to kind of gauge how a team performed relative to expectations, and now that doesn't exist.
Do you think, though, by not doing this, that there could be a chance for the Big 12 to position themselves better in the college football playoff and getting teams in and possibly the seeding, or do you just think it really doesn't have anything to do with that?
I don't totally see, there will still be teams that start off with advantages because of where they're ranked. It's just that the people who are making those rankings have one less data point on which to base them. I don't think that this move will ultimately end up benefiting the Big 12 significantly from a playoff seeding perspective. I can understand why they would think that, but I really like I said, the logic does not fully line up for me, because there will still be anchors. The anchors will just be coming off of different points of perception for the people who are in charge of producing them. And that extends to the college football playoff rankings as well when those come in at midseason. Perhaps I have more reading to do about the issue and the nuances of this, and I don't know that they've necessarily given an official rationale as to why. But just from my external perspective, I don't totally think that this will have a significant impact on the way teams are seeded.
Henry Greenstein, once again, our guest here, Lawrence Journal, worldkusports.com on the Morning Blitz. You also told me that you were interested in seeing the comments of Brett Yormark. What do you hope to learn from the commissioner of the Big 12?
Well, it's certainly quieter this time around. I feel like the last couple of years when I attended Big 12 Media Days, there was lots of talk about realignment, lots of talk about private equity, which they've now apparently put on the back burner, lots of talk about sponsorships and naming rights. It kind of feels like all of that has been somewhat diverted with more pressing issues to attend to in the world of college athletics. And I honestly think most of this will focus on the aftermath of the House settlement, which is now, of course, a week old in terms of its official start date of July 1st. And so I think there will be a lot of talk about how he sees his team's position from a competitive standpoint, what kind of further action developments he foresees. There will likely be some talk of designated student athletes who, of course, the NCAA just created a brand new portal window for those players who would have otherwise lost their spot due to roster limits, but are instead grandfathered in. They now have a whole window to move around, and that probably won't include any particularly prominent players because most of those are walk-ons, but that's an issue that affects the entire Big 12. And I'm sure there'll be talk as well about men's basketball NCAA tournament expansion, which kind of feels like it's the big talking point right now in terms of revenue sports. So I think it'll be a wide-ranging array of things. Yormark is usually fairly tight-lipped. Like he doesn't give away a whole lot, but sometimes they have major announcements to make, and if any of those come up, I'll look forward to being there and getting to cover exactly what the fallout from that is.
And before we let you go, I want to hit a couple topics since we haven't visited with you in a couple of weeks. Your thoughts overall as the season now is over for KU baseball and the great season that they had for Coach Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I think they did an excellent job locking him down with an extension. First of all, it was really impressive for KU to find the money to give him and his staff members a raise during a time where they're not strapped for cash, but they're basically trying to get as much cash as they can to get up toward that revenue sharing cap. And that's resulted in some layoffs and like losses of employees in the KU athletic department. But I'm not saying this in a backhanded way. Like, it's impressive that KU was able to lock down Fitzgerald for a 6-year extension, because the work that he's done in his 3 seasons at KU has gone a long way toward making him at least a proposed candidate for major jobs at places like Mississippi State. So that was a nice bit of fallout from it. I think that it will just help them with their momentum further. You know, talking to Fitz the other day, like, they're getting calls answered on the recruiting trail they might not have in years past. And I think that having the best regular season and program history and having the most wins in the Big 12 of any team and all sorts of other records they set, you know, being a team that hit lots of home runs, all of that can help on the recruiting trail. You know, Brady Ballinger being in U.S. Collegiate National Team training camp last week. They are really starting to pick up momentum, and you kind of see this thing snowballing, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continued on this upward trajectory. It honestly seems to me like in some ways they could have a better roster next year than they did this past year, just based on the accolades that many of the players that they got in their initial JUCO class had, as well as some of the transfers they've picked up, like just one out of many. Jordan Bach, a center fielder from Southern Illinois, who last I checked was hitting like 450 in the Northwood this summer. I think they'll be great next year. I think it helps they already have practice going with what will largely be a very new roster, because they just did that and passed with flying colors last season. So, you know, disappointing ending the way things finished off in the NCAA tournament. But I don't think that has really in any way obscured the progress they made.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, July 1st came and went, and that was when, of course, it became legal to pay athletes. Universities can go about doing that. How do you feel like KU stands in this situation as they get ready for this era of paying players, can spend up to $20.5 million and all that kind of stuff? How do you think KU sits in that situation?
I think there are a lot of interesting dynamics at play with KU. Just a few to come to mind. Number one, being a school with as prominent a basketball program as they have, that means that basketball will likely get a slightly higher proportion of the revenue sharing dollars than it would at some other comparable schools. And that in turn means slightly less for football. I think that a little bit of money goes a longer way in football. So it'll be interesting to see exactly if we see those changes manifest in the field in the years ahead. But on the other hand, they can supplement that via NIL that goes through the clearinghouse. And that's the other thing that's interesting for me is KU, I believe, was the first school to do this. They essentially have a deal for an in-house marketing agency in partnership with the Kansas City area agency, Walsh Tetrick. And it's called Flight. And the idea there is to just help these athletes generate as many branding opportunities as possible, because true NIL, as many have called it, is more important than ever, because those money you make through these NIL sponsorships is exempt from the revenue sharing cap. It has to be approved by a clearinghouse, like I said. But I think that the fact that KU has its own agency and is working with people with a lot of expertise in this field could give them some of the leg up in exceeding the cap. And that can be a benefit in all sports. On the whole, I think KU is situated pretty well. I think that it'll be interesting to see how things proceed for the women's basketball team, because, you know, right now women's basketball is not a profitable sport for KU, but they just brought in the best freshman class in their program's history. In theory, they should be a powerhouse because of the facilities and the history of Kansas basketball of both men's and women's. And I think that's one program that could really be situated well to take advantage of the new era. And then in terms of some of the non-revenue sports, it'll be interesting to see if they get like a piece of the pie when it comes to that 20.5 million. I imagine that may change from year to year because, the 20.5 million cap will change from year to year. So I don't think anything's really set in stone at this point. And I think teams will continue to find increasingly creative ways to not necessarily circumvent the cap, but make the most of their position within it. And I think this is something that's going to keep having to be refined and altered, largely in response to pending legal action, I suspect, in the years ahead.
Henry, safe travels down to Frisco and enjoy the Big 12 media days. Look forward to catching up with you soon after all the information is compiled there.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Once again, really good stuff there from Henry Greenstein, who joined me yesterday. And right now, I saw a photo of him actually just a little bit ago on social media. He is down there waiting for the opening remarks from Brett Yormark at the Big 12 football media days, which once again starts today and rolls through tomorrow. Once again, we'll have thoughts and comments on what Kansas State players and coaches had to say as they get set for speaking today, I should say. All right, let's get to a timeout. When we come back, we are going to wrap up the show with some thoughts on what Dickie V had to say about a basketball player on one of the local colleges' roster, and some other thoughts on some on some football recruiting as a whole, and some brilliance, I think, in it overall. So we'll get to that in the final segment here next in the Morning Blitz.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
Summer deals are heating up at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get up to $7,000 off a brand new 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Pro, or choose 0% APR for 36 months plus no payments for 90 days on select 25 Sierra 1500s. Need more muscle? Drive off in a 25 Sierra 3500 with 3.9% APR for 48 months, or grab $2,750 select market purchase allowance. GMC, professional grade. These offers won't last. Swing by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today, online at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland, and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Let's face it, many of us plan our vacations down to the hour, the activities, the food we want, and the people we'll see. So why not save our family the grief and stress when we leave this world? Why not inquire about rearranging our funeral and celebration of life? Call Coons Russell Funeral Home in Goodland for their assistance. They've made it so much easier on families in times of stress. Call or visit CoonsRussellFuneralHome.com.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Catch up on all the latest headlines, scores, and interviews from the region. This is The Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer, your daily dose of sports.
Did happen to get a text on the text line here this morning. Shout out to the junior high football camp that gets going today, 5:30 to 7 here in Goodland. It's a 4-day camp. Last day on Friday at the practice field in Goodland. All 7th and 8th graders are welcome. So best luck to the junior high football camp get going today in Goodland. Good times. All right, as we move on here and wrap up the show, thanks again to Henry Greenstein for joining the program. I wanted to get into something I saw yesterday because I thought that was interesting. So Dick Vitale, of course, college basketball's ultimate color man, was on ESPN, was able to dive into the transfer portal winners. So Dick Vitale's transfer portal winners in men's college basketball. And the number one guy on the transfer edition is Kansas State's P.J. Haggerty. So K-State bringing in, according to Dick Vitale, the top transfer in the portal this previous year in P.J. Haggerty. I mean, that's the second year in a row they've done that, right? I mean, I don't know where Vitale would have ranked Hawkins, but at the same time, if there's one thing that Jerome Tang has proven, he can acquire talent. That guy can get pieces in. What we have yet to see on a consistent basis is getting that talent to play together. And we'll see if that happens this year. But P.J. Haggerty considered to be the top transfer coming out of the portal, and he is going to Kansas State. 21.7 points last year at Memphis, the nation's number 3 scorer. And we'll see how he does there at Kansas State. Also on this list, by the way, my boy Bennett Sturtz, huge fan of him from my alma mater in Northwest Missouri State, played last year at Drake, now an Iowa Hawkeye. So no, I have to hate him because I don't like Iowa. I'm sickening because I love Bennett Sturtz, but I don't like Iowa. So that'll be a tough deal to cheer for that. But I thought that was interesting to come across that yesterday. The top portal winners, according to Dickie V, and the top guy is Kansas State's P.J. Haggerty, and we'll see how he performs there for Jerome Tang and the Wildcats. All right, let's get to the walk-off.
High drive, deep left, grand slam!
And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Gray? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
So I have found this interesting for the last couple of weeks, seeing this recruiting class come together for Notre Dame. Head coach Marcus Freeman is doing something that, Brian Kelly, previous head coach at Notre Dame, just could not do. It was funny that Brian Kelly, he left and went to LSU, left Notre Dame, went to LSU because he said he just couldn't recruit the players that he needed to win. And yet, of course, Notre Dame was making all the way to the national championship game last year, or the Final Four of the college football playoff. And he is getting the recruiting done. He just recently got a commitment from the son of Larry Fitzgerald. And I find this interesting because this is a trend that Marcus Freeman has gotten on, and he's stuck to it. And I think it's brilliant. At Notre Dame, it is difficult to get in there because of academics and all that stuff. But if you can get former NFL players' kids, that's going to be a heck of a deal there. I think that's a really big deal. So, he's already gotten Ryan Clark's son, Brian Urlacher's son, Jerome Bettis and Plaxico Burris' son are committed to go there, and now Larry Fitzgerald. He's getting all these guys to come in and do this, and I think it's amazing. I think it's a brilliant plan. It's a hard place to get into. You need top-quality individuals. Why not go for people and people's kids that were top-quality individuals in the NFL? So I think it's a brilliant move on the part of Notre Dame, and I think we're going to see them hanging around a lot, especially if Marcus Freeman is the head coach. All right, that'll do it for the program today. We're out of here. We'll see you back again tomorrow here in 23 hours. This has been the Morning Blitz. Have a good Tuesday.
Classic rock plays here. This is Rocket 102.5. KKCI, Goodland, Burlington, Colby.